So the game just ended and it was 2-2. And honestly, it could have been at 5-5. It's just there were so many mistakes. It was weird. It was comical. It was a very open-ended game. And honestly and ultimately, as a Liverpool fan, I'm almost glad that it ended up a tie. They were obviously down 1-0 at one point, flipped it to 2-1. But Manchester United, I think, were the better team. In this formation that looks like a Christmas tree in the 3-4-2-1, you can tell that the idea is there. You can tell that how Amorim wants to play, and how they want to use the outlets and how they want to be kind of putting in the passes moving forward. You can see the progression of play that he wants to play. And I think that for some reason the players, whether they get it or not, it's just going to take some time, or they're going to need some new players, which, they'll probably need some new players. But you can see the vision, and you can tell they might be a solid side here. I think Lisandro Martinez, for his liabilities, he's decent going forward. Obviously, he scored today, but even before, I thought this is why you want him, because he's kind of a little bit more of a ball player. De Ligt as well, the same thing. He's a little bit better on the ball, so he's going to be great on those outlet passes. And you kind of saw it. Maguire made some runs as well. So it's just really a kind of progression where they're going to start figuring it out. And I think if you're a Manchester United fan, I think you're excited about this result where, like I said, they could have been up. Dallo had a chance to put on Ahmad where he crossed it to him and it was just too far behind, and so it ended up looking like Ahmad was clearing it, which is obviously not ideal. And then Højlund had a chance one-on-one against Alisson, and it was these balls that, quite frankly, were fairly easy. And if we're going to switch over, Liverpool were absolute shambles defensively. I mean, it was just a 1-2 pass where they're just playing it off of each other, but the player just runs in behind. And there was so many instances, so many opportunities where they got in behind Liverpool, and it was brutal. And it was great for, obviously, Manchester United. Dallo was playing in a lot of open space. Bruno Fernandes was playing in a lot of open space. And they just weren't making those final touches, like I said. So that's why maybe they don't have the final players that is going to be ideal for this. And let me take that off. Ideal for this system. But Manu had a good game. Ugarte had a good game. Mazraoui was fine. And Dallo would have had a fantastic game, as well as Bruno Fernandes, if they just made those passes a little bit better and were absolutely blowing Liverpool wide open. Again, overhead passes and then simple passes where they were just slicing through that Liverpool defense. It was brutal to watch. And then as far as Liverpool, shambles. Absolute shambles defensively. I think this was easily Curtis Jones' worst game. And I'm rooting for Curtis Jones. I like Curtis Jones, but he was awful. He was hanging on to the ball for way too long. He was playing back passes. He was killing momentum. And when Liverpool are pushing forward and you make an erroneous pass, it just leaves your whole team completely out of it. And I think that they were left in bad spots. Again, I'm not blaming only Curtis Jones. There was a lot of passes where, Trent had one in the second half, I believe it was. And you just make these like kind of lazy passes and you get caught out, but you're in a brutal position. And now Konate has to cover. Now Van Dijk is where. Now Robertson is where. Gravenberch is where. It just creates chaos. And so it was brutal to see this Liverpool defense. And Trent had a stinker of a game. There's no way around it. I love Trent. I love him more than anything. Give him as much money as we can to keep him. I love him. He had a bad game. He did. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Dallo was doing whatever he wanted. Konate was trying to cover, which he usually does, and it was just. I think Liverpool. I think Manchester United were correctly targeting that side, and it was painful. It really was, and it was just the back line was having so much trouble trying to connect with Salah, with Diaz, with Cody Gakpo when they were on. Then they were just not making an impression on the game like they probably should have. Mo Salah probably should have gotten the ball a little bit more. But yeah, Liverpool just looked so bad. Liverpool looked so bad. Connor Bradley ended up having to come on. Harvey Elliott, Darwin Núñez, Diego Jota didn't really make a difference. Jota, I think, tried a little bit more. He was playing a little bit more in that midfield, so he was a little bit more present. But they almost had no impact. Ruben Amorim absolutely dialed this game up correctly against Liverpool. And this Manchester United team, again, if they had better players, I think that they would have done much better. Is this Liverpool side going to get exposed? It's possible. It's possible because now that Manchester United put this tape out there against Liverpool, now other teams can look at the Fulham game, can look at the Manchester United game, can look at the Nottingham Forest game and see, okay, how can we do this as well? And as far as Liverpool, honestly, they looked lethargic at times. And this is the biggest game. This is, all eyes are on it. This is a chance for you to go up. I think it's 8 points up, right? I think so. Somewhere in there. It's a chance to go points up when all of your closest rivals either drew or lost. And this is a big, big opportunity, and you whiff. And I don't know if it's all of the outside noise stuff that's finally breaking through. I don't know if the players are tired, more rotation is needed. I don't know the conditions of the field. It was raining, it was slippery, it was brutal. I totally get that. They did not seem to have a sense of urgency. They didn't, bring on the press. And they were at Anfield, which is the most embarrassing part, where you expect them to bring on this energy for the crowd, to roar them up. And they didn't bring it. They didn't have it. They didn't have any sort of intensity. They had nothing. They weren't doing a press. Listen, if you're going to press, you either press or you don't, and you sit back and you try to absorb pressure and try to counter. But you can't have press, because when you have press, you're just out of position. And now you're out of position. And again, Dallo, I can't express to you how Dallo had so much space on Liverpool's right-hand side. I'm shocked they didn't do more. And every time Manchester United went on the front foot, I was scared that they were going to score. Manchester United, that sit in 13th place. It wasn't good. And Liverpool now, missed this opportunity. Obviously, they're still up in first place, but now they are going to have a tough run of form. I saw one of the videos as well where somebody commented that that the upcoming fixtures are going to be what trips up Liverpool. I mean, let's take a look at them. Because I counted this as a dub. I thought Manchester United was an easy dub for Liverpool. Now they're going to Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest is on a fantastic run of form. I believe they're currently in second, right? But they're on a fantastic run of form, and they're not going to be an easy out. Brentford always gives you a good game. You're going to go to Brentford. Ipswich today also having themselves a game. Like Bournemouth, it's not an easy game. It's the Premier League. It's not going to be easy. Wolves are playing well as well. So with the new manager change, so you're going into the slog. And I don't know that this team, if they're going to play as lethargic as they did today, if it's going to go well. City, obviously they won yesterday, so now they're going to have time to pick up form. Great, just in time to play Liverpool. And then Newcastle. Newcastle is absolutely flying. And so it is going to be brutal for Liverpool. The fixture list does get a little bit tighter. And then, again, you see it here Tuesday and then Saturday. And then Saturday again, so there'll be some break there. But these January fixtures get scrunched in, and you need to be picking up these points. You absolutely need to be picking up these points. And so, I don't know. Arne Slot, the only thing I'll say about Arne Slot as well is that he made these offensive changes right after Cody Gakpo gets the tie. And so I thought, do you need to keep the shape that you're doing, or maybe put on some fresher legs, maybe get Endo to kind of shore up the defense, because y'all are looking like shit right now. Maybe make that switch, but instead he brought on Darwin Núñez and Diogo Jota, which kind of was already set. Gakpo scores. The changes still go through. That's the only thing is, does he kind of sit back there and think, well, hold up, because now it's 1-1. I can keep my shape. If that, because that's obviously what he wants to do. He wants to keep his shape. Make those adjustments on the midfield side instead of the forward side, because they're not 1-0 down. And, do we exploit that? Kobe Mainoo came off, and Liverpool seemed to get a bit of a fresh air. And you thought that they were going to make a difference as well with that substitution coming off. Kobe Mainoo coming off. Amorim went offensive as well. As you can see here, he put on Garnacho. He put on Xerxes. Xerxes had that last-minute chance, and then you have to say it. I feel bad for him because I thought he had a decent game, but Maguire. Xerxes, I don't think is going to be talked about enough. Xerxes had the chance there. Slows it down for some reason. I noticed that in a lot of the counterattacks that Manchester United have, instead of going for it, they slow it down so much. But anyway, he slowed it down to a complete halt almost. But it works out to him, to his credit. He squares it to the only Maguire, and he just blows it past, and he soars it, he skies it, whatever you want to call it. But you don't expect Maguire to square that and score that. You expect Xerxes to score that. So, again, I think it's going to be a little bit harsh on Maguire. I think it's going to be a bit of a meme, but Xerxes absolutely had the chance to go forward to score that, and then he didn't. So, but overall, I think the Manchester United thoroughly outplayed, and I think we'll feel like, damn, we should have won that game. And with that, that kind of look, that attack, how they looked against Liverpool at Anfield, this might be what propels them going forward. It might. It probably should. I think if you're a Manchester United fan, for as stubborn as Amorim has been about, I'm not going to switch my tactics. I want the players to learn, to grow, and to get into the system, because this is the system, and you're either a part of the system or you're not a part of the system. I would be hopeful, and I would want him to keep implementing that and to show what Manchester United could do. They're gonna need to make some tweaks. They're gonna need to shift off of some players, bring some players in. But if you're a Manchester United fan, I think that they played a great game. Again, I'm not blaming the condition on. They played well. They found space. They were doing fantastic. They were finding open space. They were getting those 1-2s. They were getting through the Liverpool defense. Liverpool having, Virgil van Dijk had a slide tackle to save a Dalot chance. They were doing well. So I think it's hope for Amarim, his side, and his supporters. And, just gives you that nugget. Even though you drew, you feel like you should have won. And then Arne Slot, I don't know. He needs to remotivate these players. He needs to make some substitutions. They were kind of lethargic, and he needs to shake them up and get them going, because there is still a lot of games left to be played. This is the Premier League. You can lose, tie anywhere, and they need to shore up the results if they're going to go on to win the league. So I know a lot of people are kind of counting it out, the league, giving it to Liverpool. Absolutely not. I don't think they're thinking that way, but they need to make sure that they're playing with that urgency as well, that this is not sealed, that Arsenal are going to be behind them, that Newcastle, I'm waiting for them to fall as well, but they're not falling. So you better keep playing, and Newcastle are going to be in there as well. And again, City are always going to be a talented, dangerous side. So overall, again, it was just a very poor performance from Liverpool. Overall, a stinker, you gotta say, from Alexander-Arnold, Curtis Jones. Diaz, I think, was way too quiet. Gakpo had that goal, but yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. So now we are going to see what happens next, see if there's any refreshment on the squad side as far as bringing in players or shipping them out, and see what this Liverpool side can bring for the rest of the Premier League.